Now you're thinking, captain, co-captain. I'll tell you what a captain goes through. A captain looks after all the departments. In a 5 hour period, that captain might receive 400 to 500 phone calls in 5 hours. That's a lot of stuff going on. And every decision that captain makes is based on time and money. Time and money. And he's not looking after you. He's looking after all the other drivers. And he's basically looking after all the departments. Like I said, we're the sprocket. And each department is a spoke in the wheel. And the captain looks after it, everything to make it run smooth. Because everything's on a time frame. That's what's important as dealing with transport and dealing with talent driving. So when you're driving the talent, a lot of times you're going to be surprised with yourself. You're going to go, wow, I remember watching this person on TV like 20 years ago, and now I'm driving them. And you're going to realize that they're human beings. They're not really stars. It's just a job, and the job doesn't define them, just like the job doesn't define you. Because who knows where your talents could be, either a musician, into poetry, a different artist, a carpenter, this or that. But when you're driving talent, it is important. And a lot of times when the talent likes you, he'll get a hold of the captain right away and say, hey, you know what? I like this driver I got. I like to keep her. Is it possible? And a lot of times they'll say, oh yeah, okay, because they know the whole thing is making the actors comfortable. Because if you make the actors comfortable on set and getting to set, it's a world of difference. I'll give you one quick story. I have a friend of mine who's an actor who I met years ago, and I have lots of friends of mine who are actors. And my one friend called me a couple of years ago, and he goes, Brian, he goes, what's going on with transport? I said, why? He goes, I just got picked up from Minto. And the driver said, I don't know how to get to set. Then the driver said to him, hey, can you drive to set? And my friend who's the actor says, okay, I'll drive to set if you can memorize my lines. That's what you don't want, okay? Know where you're going. You're being professional. Like I said, I'm representing you, and you're going to represent me. So, to recap, Unimovers, the do's and don'ts, your bags. There'll be a list and pictures of all that. And then when you're driving for all the other departments, grips, electrics, props, all that, again, just like Unimovers, make sure you have your bag. And then when you're driving cruise shuttle, be safe, because they're your brothers and sisters. And when you're driving talent, be very safe and make sure that they're comfortable.
And what about the key positions? The captain, the co-captain, the swamper, even picture cars on set. What are those positions like?
With transport, the way it works is utility, swamper, co-captain, captain, and then you have picture cars. So the utility guy will be brought in, and he's the guy who has to pick up trucks from White's, drop stuff off, take a generator, drop stuff off. He's the guy moving and shaking during the day where they need stuff to be returned because it's going to go on another show. That's utility guys. And again, same thing. Carry your kit with you. Have your kit with you at all times, because you can be jumping in and out of vehicles. You want to make sure the steering wheel is clean. You want to make sure you're safe and clean. Make sure you have your baby wipes. The swamper is the guy who does most of the fueling and the cleaning. He fuels up all the trucks. He does all the cleaning. The co-captain's job is he makes sure the departments, he looks after all the departments in regards to where they're going to park these trucks, how close they're going to get to set, which is camera, electrics, props. All those tech trucks have to get close to set. So he's the one who's going to be going up measuring. He's out there. A co-captain can look at 10 parking lots in 2 days, measuring everything out. And the way that works is that you take the length of each truck, and let's say you've got 10 trucks, and the average length is 75 feet or 80 feet. You got to allow for 120 feet. So you need 12 to 1,400 feet of space if you're doing a long run. So the co-captain, his job is measuring, his job is organizing, and working with Unimovers. And a lot of times the co-captain could be tired. He could be working 85 hours in 4 days and be exhausted. So if he's a little short with Unimovers, have some compassion. It's called the forgiveness policy. I would ask for, a little bit of forgiveness, and don't ask him stupid questions, because just be professional. And if you have questions, ask the co-captain. It's his job to tell you how things have to be done. And same with the captain. The captain's job is another level. The co-captain reports to the captain, and like I said, the captain's job looks after all the departments and fields so many phone calls. I've been a captain on many shows where the phone calls are astronomical. When I'm not exaggerating when I say 450 phone calls in 5 hours. And you think, how can that be? between two phones going off and your two walkies going off on channel 1 and 3, it's nonstop. And the questions could be, that actor that's going to be picking up John Doe at 8 o'clock in the morning, can he grab him at 7:30? Absolutely can. Why? Because you let him know that you were there 7:15. That's how things change fast. The motion picture business is constantly moving parts. It's moving parts, and it's moving faster and faster and faster and faster and faster. That's what the captain does. He's responsible for it all, and he looks after your timesheets.
Is the show on a schedule even before I start?
Everything's budgeted. Everything's on a schedule. They know exactly how long they're going to take to shoot in every location. They have to allow for weather. They have to allow for rain coverage. And there's another part that I want to discuss about this art department is picture cars. Picture cars are very important. Picture cars is, how can I say this? Picture cars is the cheapest way to give an effective period date, meaning that I could have put a brand new Corvette in front of your driveway. It's 2021. Or I could put a 1955 Chevy Bel Air. It's 1955. For the cost of that picture car, you can change it. And a lot of people, when you take a picture car call, again, the same thing. Have that bag with you. Have everything with you. The difference is that when you drive these picture cars, do you know how to drive standard? Are you comfortable with this? Can you drive a bike? And you have to know it. You have to know it.
Can I still take a picture car call if I can't drive 3 on the tree?
Usually when they put the call out, they'll ask if you can drive 3 in a tree. 3 in a tree is just basically a standard on the column, which is basically a car up until the 60s. They had them. You'll learn. You know, if you haven't driven, you know how to drive standard, and you have your DZ license and you have your AZ license, you'll learn how to drive 3 in a tree very quickly. Very quickly. And a lot of times you have to teach the actors when you're working with the picture car captain and the coordinator, you have to teach the actors how to drive 3 in a tree. I've done that many times where I've had to teach actors how to drive 3 in a tree or standard. Or sometimes you're a Model T where it's multiple shifting. You have to teach them how to do that, and it's important. But you have, again, there's a pecking order, and you have to pay attention to your captain and the guy who's running the floor. And the most important thing when you take a picture car call is, again, if the call's at 8 o'clock in the morning, show up at 7 o'clock in the morning. Get your deal memo done. Make sure your bag is with you for the rain coverage. You have all that stuff ready. So you're not running back to your car or you forgot something. Because nothing worse is if you're wet and you can't put on dry clothes, or if you're cold and you can't warm up. You can always delayer, but you can't add it when you don't have it.
Should there be anything done when I arrive at the picture car call towards the car, like a circle check or anything required?
So usually what happens is that the guy running the floor, the captain of the picture cars, will say, these are the cars that are playing. He could have 5, or he could have 20, or he could have 30. And if it's 30 cars, it's not just you. There's a few guys there. It's usually one guy, probably 5 vehicles. And he'll tell you who's playing first, which one is the hero car, which one is the duplicate car, which one has to be smashed up. And he'll ask you to start them up. Make sure the lights work. Make sure the directionals work. Make sure, the brake lights work, stuff like that, Make sure there's enough. Make sure there is enough fuel in it. And I'll give you one picture car example, and it's a true story. The movie's called Turk 182. My friend was a camera operator on that, and they were shooting in New York City. And the scene is with Timmy T. Hutton, and he's got to drive across the 5 borough bridges. In New York, the production had them locked up on a Sunday for 3 hours at a cost of $1 million. And the scene was the actor hops on the bike and he drives. And my friend, who's a camera operator, was on a barge on the Hudson River, and his job was to shoot 360 all the way around. It was his first big job, Turk 182, and he's shooting. And he gets to 180, and he doesn't see the bike or the actor traveling, but he keeps with the shot. When he came back, the guy who was doing the picture cars forgot to put $1 worth of gas in that bike. That cost the production $1 million because he had to come back a month later to redo it. Those are the little things that are important when you're doing picture cars. Make sure there's enough fuel. Never leave the car. If your captain says, stand by that car, you could be waiting for 5 hours, 6 hours standing by that car. Don't keep the radio playing. Don't keep the auxiliary going because you're going to drain the battery. But just stand by that car. It's important that they know where you are.
Should I let the on